Nithyanandam. Let's start this session with a Sadguru Vandanam. Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasya Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna Rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, I trust I'm audible to everybody. This is Ma Nitya Atmadayananda, here to share about the eventful, amazing, exhilarating sessions that we had at the United Nations, the journey there, of course, the journey before we started, and then the whole experience that we had when we were there. So with me, we have others as well. I'll just quickly check that they're all being seen. Whilst we wait for the others to be projected, let me start with my own sharing. So let me see how many of you can hear clearly. You can put in the Facebook chat. You can put in the Facebook chat. You can put in the YouTube chat that you are hearing us, hearing me clearly. Before we get on to this very exciting session that we have. So yes, if the rest of the team can also join me, that will be great. So I can introduce all of them to you. We have wonderful. I have feedback that you can hear me. Great. So what has happened in the last week? I'm sure many of you have seen, if not all of you have seen, the photographs, the posts that have happened on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's own Facebook page. You would have seen on the Twitter pages as well, on the Twitter accounts. Amazing photographs from the United Nations. So let me tell you a little bit of the background of what has happened. So as usual, it was a spontaneous decision to be part of the happenings, the sessions, very important sessions, especially for women empowerment that were happening at the United Nations the past week. And of course, there are more sessions happening this week as well. So here we see the team. Yes, we have Zlatinka Shateva, we have Conchetta Galota, Srinityananda, Nitya Banahastananda, and Anurag Jalani as well with me today. We are all going to be sharing our individual experiences with you all. One thing is actually photographs say 1,000 words, I'm sure, but we are here to add the voice behind those words and to share more in detail the journey that you haven't seen yet, because that wasn't photographed. So it was literally a 48 hours of instant decisions, spontaneous decisions to be part of this 1 week, to be representing the United States of Kailasa and to be representing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism there at the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. So personally, I've never been to Switzerland. I've heard a lot about United Nations, especially because we've been speaking about it with the United States of Kailasa. But I was excited, but also at the same time a little nervous. I had not been, I've heard Her Excellency Manitya Vijayapriyananda share her experiences, but of course I had not been part of it. So for me, it has been a complete turnaround this past week. I would say that from the moment I said yes, I jumped in. It has only become possible step by step for everything to unfold the way it's unfolded. And one thing that has struck out for me is I have not been more alive than I have been in the past week. because everything was in the now. There is one thing talking about being in the present now and not having that many thoughts per second, etc. It's great having that knowledge in theory, but to be in practice. And many times people ask, so I landed on Sunday, and I was staying with Zlatinka at her friend's place. And her friend, planned the whole week because she had her daughter taking the week off. There was time off from school, and her daughter had to have a one week period off. So she had planned meticulously every single day and everything that was going to happen through the day. And here I was on Sunday. We we wanted to have brochures for the introduction to the United States of Kailasa and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. There were booklets needed to be printed, and we didn't even have the name of a printer or where we were going to go to print on the Sunday night. And the event was, of course, on Wednesday. So there she was, concerned and nervous about what's going to happen. It was like, what's going to happen to you if you don't get it happen? There was this real panic. And myself and Zlatinka looked at each other and said, well, I have the tablecloths. I know the rest will happen. Because thanks to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, I don't need to worry about anything that's, the shops were closed. There's nothing much more we could do. We were very clear about what we were going to do on the Monday morning, waking up very early, organizing ourselves, hitting all the places that we wanted to hit. So we were quite clear about the next steps. But in that moment, I didn't need to worry about anything. And that's only thanks to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, where I was able to be in the present moment and unclutch, just completely unclutch from what would happen tomorrow. Whereas she was worried. I kept looking at Zlatinka and said, I have the tablecloths. The table will turn up. And then she said, I have a table. I said, okay, so now we have tablecloth and a table. Now we just need a place, and that will also happen, I'm sure. So it's a very alive, exhilarating time that we've had. One more thing is, back in 2002, I was part of a group, and we were working on world peace, talking about world peace. So I had written a one pager. It was, something I wrote from my heart, not that something I had researched or anything. I didn't realize that it was important to me at that time. It was a spontaneous thing, even at that time, that came up. But honestly, there is no way, even then or now, I could have thought of how that could be implemented. And through my journey with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, being part of the United States of Kailasa, I have seen how it's possible, just because of the vision that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism holds, the way the mission moves forward, the way we are all encouraged, the way we are all empowered to move into leadership. Now, it was one thing to write about peace, and it was another thing to be at the United Nations, which is an international organization established to promote international cooperation and to achieve world peace and security. So that has become, something I wrote on paper, which is very much, theory to me, to being alive, present at the United Nations. That became possible only because of Swamiji, only because of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and because of the way he's held me. And I know the way the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has held every single person, the 17 persons that said spontaneously yes, moved everything that they could in their lives to be there. And I'm excited to actually bring the others as well. So we've got, I'll start with Zlatinka Shteva actually, because she was right there with me from Sunday. She said, I'll be there at the airport. Beyond that moment, we were not sure what will happen next. But, that going from something that is impossible to possible, right? So Zlatinka was right there from the start when I landed. So I'll start with Zlatinka to share her. Like, Zlatinka, what would you say happened for you when, I'm sure when I called and I said, Zlatinka, would you like to be part of these sessions? What happened for you? What went through your inner space? Would you like to share?
Yes, Ma, thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be part of this segment. And what happened, it was that I said, yes, I respond to a call of Swamiji through you, actually. And yes, Switzerland, everything is planned. Everything is organized, and we bring the science of manifestation in Switzerland, because everybody said, oh, it will be not possible to do everything that you need to do before the session in United Nations. But what happened is that everything was perfect, and we did the work with the grace of Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And for me, it was the implementation, how can I say that, from the program from Mahaparamashivam that I made in December. And yes, it's so amazing experience to receive teachings and darshans and make a lot of things with in the program in your home. But it's another thing to live it, to do the things, to break these patterns of impossibilities. And yes, I was wondering what I do this week, and when you called me, I forgot everything. It was just, I need to be there, and that's it, without questioning, without doubts. And yeah, just that feeling in my body, and that my place is in Geneva. And yes, it was a really amazing experience. I learned a lot, and I can say that I'm not the same person, actually. Really.
Yeah, there's nothing like it, right? I mean, it's learning on the ground. I mean, before we left for Geneva, online there was a lot of searching done for where the printers would be, and there we were, turned up at the United Nations buildings, and there was a person who gave us all the information, and we were able to easily cut past. So this hours of work just completely saved, because we were on the ground interacting with the people that were there with similar intentions, and very helpful indeed, and that moved things faster, being on the ground and learning, right? So that, yeah, exactly. And like you said, we were in the car when you had said, and there's one thing being in the session, and there's another thing being on the ground like this, participating actively with the projects, and being their part, like literally, what's the word, engaged, alive. It's not just theory, but alive and engaged, right? Yes. And then we also have Conchetta, who was in a similar situation where she had work. I know she had work commitments when I called her, and she said, I don't think my boss is going to be giving time off. But of course, Conchetta, would you like to share what happened for you in the 48 hours before the event, your journey to Geneva? Please do share.
Sure, Ma. Thanks for having me. 48 hours just before the call, I was really only waiting for the month to end with all of the commitments and work, and thinking, when I received the call instead, there is my mind thinking, you don't have enough holidays, you don't have holidays until April, it's the last week where your manager is in the company, it's really not a good moment. But I just felt this strong pull to say yes, and jump. So what I did, without even thinking, I texted my manager on his work phone, on his personal phone on a Saturday, actually. And he said, yes, sure, put your leave request through and I will approve it, whether it's paid or unpaid, consider it as a yes. And from there, everything unfolded, like you said, everything started falling into place. So once we went there in Switzerland, I just jumped into living and working together with people who I had met only digitally before. And it was a great experience, a great learning experience. We all came together. We brought something to the group, both professionally and personally. We brought something to the mission and to each other as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing, right? Which was, I remember many people I had not, many of our Sangha members, we had not met in person. It had been Zoom sessions only because of COVID, etc. And it was so lovely to see everybody in person and interact with everyone in person, engage with each one in person. Yeah, exactly. And I, before I left for my flight, you didn't have your accommodation sorted. So I remember you were saying, okay, quickly, let me sort out the accommodation. Everything went so smoothly, even though we had short period of time, to work everything out. I guess everything fell into place. And what yourself and Zlatinka both said is, we said yes. You say, and the words say yes to life from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism comes to mind, right? This is yes in action. And then after that, everything starts to unfold. That one thing for me also was that I got to meet everyone in person. And then we have actually Zlantika and Anurag, who both live in Switzerland. And Anurag, Zlatinka doesn't live too far from Geneva, but Anurag lives in Zurich. Anurag, how was it for you to plan? Because you just come back from a holiday, right? You had just come back from a trip to India. Yes.
So I had just come back and there was a lot of work to be done. But when I got your call, then I just said yes without thinking. I just felt so excited and honored to be part of this that I said, okay, yes. After that, I realized after saying yes, oh my God, there are a lot of things to be done, a lot of things to be planned. I just came back from holidays. But it was not so difficult. I mean, everything started to fall in place one by one. And it didn't even feel like that I was trying to plan everything in detail. It just fell in place. And there I was on Tuesday that I could really drive and be in Geneva with the whole team there. So it was amazing learning that when my being says yes, then I don't need to mentally plan everything out. Things will just happen. I just need to say yes, and Swamiji will express through me. So that's what I've seen, that every time I say yes to something which from my being to Swamiji to Kailasa, then things just start to flow. I don't have to plan. I don't have to really go through my mind trying to figure out things. It just starts to happen.
Right. And it's this now that I mentioned, right? Right now, what needs to be sorted? So for me, it was, okay, first thing is the flight. Then of course, with Latinka, she had already said, okay, we have a place to stay. Don't worry about that. So that's sorted. So the next thing is the flight. And then once I land, we'll look at the next thing. Now. It's living in the now, right, Anurag? So we think too many things, too many days or weeks or something ahead, then it doesn't, quite work out or pan out the way you end up thinking, overthinking and over planning too much and end up not doing anything, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's the same, even though you were 3 hours away, they were still, it's not like it was any less like less of a stretch for you. It was just as much of a stretch as anyone that had flown from other parts of the world, right?
Yeah. And precisely for the work, I mean, there was so many things which had piled up, but somehow after saying yes, one after the other, just things started to sort themselves out, and the time just became available.
This is it. You see, being in the now, so the thoughts per second are less. So you're more in the present, not overthinking anything, more oneness with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So things flow better, right? It's actually all of the powerful cognitions in action. That's what I felt in the last week. That's what was happening. All the powerful cognitions were coming into actions because we were actively part of it. Many times they were so, I mean, everything was new for me. It's a new country. The way the roads are also set out, there's a new way of crossing the road, looking in the different directions, etc., because you've got trams in Switzerland, in Geneva. So everything was new. Of course, being present and just going with the flow, as a Kalpataru Acharya, in the sessions we say Swamiji's powerful cognitions that do new things because you're a seed of possibility. And I felt that that's exactly what happened in the last week. And then we have Sri Nitya Banahastananda here as well, who had his own businesses to work out, and still you were there for the week. Would you like to share about your experiences and what happened for you?
Yes, certainly. So I immediately said yes, because I know that's how it works. When I have an invitation, it's a great privilege to represent the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and at the United Nations. And so at the same time, I have a consulting project going on to recruit a chief executive, and I was working on a new business pitch. So I just did everything at once, and I knew that my mind can't process all of these things. Like working with 16 people in Geneva plus 6 people on Zoom. My mind can't process all of that. So it's best just to let go completely and allow Paramashiva to manifest through me. And then everything falls into place. And it's quite funny, actually, because every now and then somebody comes up with a plan, but you know that the plan's going to be eliminated and superseded by something else anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And so, yeah, everything got done. I love taking photographs, so I took lots of photographs at the same time. That happened, and so it all worked out. In fact, Anurag and I stayed in France, so we also had to commute across the border. We changed country, changed currency, all kinds of things, but it's all fine.
It was fine. You know what you said about the planning?
Oh.
All the best planning, and in the end what's going to happen is going to happen, and you're going to face anything that comes up, any challenge that comes up. You in that moment, stepping into leadership, stepping into powerfulness, and coming up with solutions. This is the beauty of being part of the United States of Kailasa, being part of Kailasa, being initiated by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. I felt that if I didn't have that, I don't think this 1 week could have been successful. Really.
There's something else I just like to mention, on which I didn't tell you before. So on the way back, I was with Conchetta, and the plane was delayed by 1 hour and 40 minutes. So I was in Geneva airport, and I just decided to meditate with Kumkum as usual. And I was sitting opposite this lady who was on the phone a lot. Anyway, I just didn't pay much attention. I got on the plane, and we were sitting next to each other, and she turns out to be an extremely useful business contact.
Wow.
So that all just happened, right?
Yes. So there you are, taking care of the sessions and attending to the sessions in United Nations. Swamiji says, you take care of the Kailasa work, and I take care of your work.
Yeah, and I was doing completion on my notepad on the plane, and she was asking all about it. So.
Okay.
What's you writing?
Oh, that's wonderful. That's brilliant. So the overall, you can hear everyone sharing. I'm sure everyone that's watching can hear the alive space that happened just because everyone jumped in and said yes. Now you also have that opportunity to say yes, to being part of Kailasa, to continually work with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on this amazing vision that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has for humanity, and what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is doing to revive Hinduism. The kind of extensive work that is happening in detail. For me, I have been part of Kailasa for about 10, 11 years. And I have to say, it's all coming together so beautiful, and even more so, it's come together. I've read about Bhagavan's mission, about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's mission. I've read about it. I've heard the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism speak about it. It came alive for me in action, how it's unfolding in the past week. So all of you that are watching, you have the opportunity to say yes and to be part of this amazing journey. All you need to do is sign up to be part of SJP. There is a form that you can fill out. Again, do it immediately. Say yes, because the more we think, we overthink, we talk ourselves out of opportunities. We talk ourselves out of what life is bringing to us. So if you click on the link that is being projected to you, there is a link. I will have one moment. I'll make sure that the Teamly is projecting over across to you. It will be sksjp.org/contribute. So you can contribute your time, your treasure, and your talent, all of it, and be part of this amazing happening. It's so exciting because we are at the beginning. It's like when you have, during the spring, when you see the trees and they start to flower, there is the possibility of life is very much there. It's tangible, and that's exactly what is happening here. So be part of that. All of you can be part of that. So I believe this link is being projected. If it hasn't been projected, I will share it again out loud. It's sksjp.org/contribute. Please sign up immediately and be part. It's being projected. I've been told it's being projected. So please kindly, quickly say yes to life. Jump in and be part of this amazing adventure, what is to unfold. If we think too much about what's going to happen next, then we will not make the decisions. You can also sign up to be an ambassador in the same form. You can sign up if you'd like to be an ambassador for Kailasa. You can sign up in the same form. Okay, so we will unfold more exciting things for you as we go along. Now, of course, each one of us has had their own personal breakthroughs. Now, for me, like I said, this more than anything else at all, I've come alive in the past week. But my tolerance for impossibility has gone down, because there were many things that needed to be done immediately. And there was no room to even start entertaining the word beginning with I am impossibility. It was just definitely no space for that at all. So myself and Zlatinka, we started our journey on a Monday morning with, again, no contacts at all, just headed into the direction of where we needed to go, where we wanted to find out, more information on the sessions and how we were going to present ourselves. So starting from that, it's like, okay, right now, none of the printers are available. So it's like, I even heard somebody say it's impossible to find a printer now and to do it in 24 hours. And for me, that was not an option. Just because of Swamiji's powerful cognitions, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism constantly sharing with us about authenticity and being in the space of possibility, that was running through. The powerful cognitions were kicking in, and I was like, okay, we're gonna head into, we've got 1 lead, 2 leads, we'll head in that direction, hold the space of possibility, it can happen, going in, asking, and then finding the right printer. And every time, myself and Zlatinka, every task we did, we'll say, Swamiji, please help us. Please make sure this happens, this goes smoothly and this just happens. So those were the things that we were using. And one by one, for me, what I saw, my personal breakthrough is that training to hold the space of possibility in that moment and seeing things happen. So what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is doing for the entire globe, for the entire humanity, I could see myself doing that on a smaller scale with getting the tasks done, if that makes sense. Because that's the project for me at that moment in time, and getting that done with Zlatinka. And along the way, any obstacle that came, and we had challenges. It isn't that we did not have challenges. At one point, I was stranded without my handbag and 5% battery on my phone. And again, I was like, Swamiji, you are my Wi-Fi right now. I don't have Wi-Fi. I don't have battery. You are my Wi-Fi. The solution came immediately, implemented that, resolved the issue, and went back to completing the task, and the task finishing on time, with excellence. It's not even cutting corners. What needed to happen, how it needed to happen, happened. So not compromising on the quality, holding the space of possibility, and really having the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as my Wi-Fi, constant Wi-Fi available to me, so that all the things that needed to happen would happen. So this is like my personal breakthrough is this. I've struggled with being in the space of possibility, and for me, this 1 week has pushed me into a huge flowering of possibility. So I can see how making things happen in the next, in the upcoming projects, making things happen is going to be a lot more simpler, because I've had to implement it, and that flowering has happened in the last week. So, for yourself, Anurag, example, what is the personal breakthrough you'd like to share and you saw yourself have in the last week? Especially in the last week. I say we've all had amazing breakthroughs over the period of time that we've been with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, but specifically so in the last week.
So I was telling before that as I said yes and made myself available, then all the cosmic powerful cognitions, principles, and just Swamiji manifesting through me. I just had to make myself available. And also when we attended these sessions, all the clicks just started to happen. I could see how attending the conference and just listening to all the people, where are the root causes of the problem and what are the solutions, all that started to be revealed to me. So that was a powerful click, that if I make myself available, I don't have to do much. Things will just start to flow and it will be manifested. So, we see that there are so many issues in this subject related to decision making and providing representation to women. But we also see that there is a lot to be done. And I want to be the person through which Swamiji flows, and it gets done through me. So I just need to make myself available and really not bother about how it will happen and who will do it, what part I will play. It just starts to happen.
Absolutely. Actually, Anurag, that's something that I also felt. It's being on the same platform as the other countries, other nations, who have, of course, who have systems, who have been in leadership for some time now, to hear them have certain problems and not necessarily have the the implementable solutions. For me, just because of the grace of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, I was able to actually digest what was being shared quite quickly, process it, and be able to see clearly that proper solutions have not been found yet. Even with this much work and the collective efforts that are happening to find solutions for the problems, that the simple solutions that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has, implementing those, I could see, it's like, here's the problem, here's the solution, it's a perfect fit. I could see it very clearly. And and actually Srinitya Banahastananda was sharing how long the United Nations have worked to make world peace happen. Would you like to share about that?
Yeah. One thing that really struck me, I've been to the United Nations in New York, but it was the first time I've been to the one in Geneva. And so, I mean, it was kind of sad and funny because there's all this stuff about peace. So it says peace on the wall in several languages, and everyone's standing around with guns. And then in front of the United Nations, there are all these sculptures to do with peace. And they're next to memorials to the victims of recent genocides. And you could just see, okay, so this organization has been trying to create world peace since 1945. We're in the middle of the biggest European war since World War II. So clearly the intention is right, but the method isn't really working. So to me, it became obvious that completion and unclutching are extremely important. So a lot of these organizations are working on the outside, and we need to turn inwards and work on the inside. And I've looked at many different traditions, and completion and unclutching are the best tools I've ever seen. So obviously we need to share those with as many people as possible, but also get world leaders to learn those techniques and put them into practice.
Yeah, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism works without blind spots. And I could see that all of the discussions that were happening were filled with blind spots. If I were to put it simply, the importance of having leadership without blind spots is imperative to have lasting solutions for lasting results, rather than one you fix one thing and the other thing breaks because you didn't this is what I noticed, that that's why the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a visionary, because he's able to see things way ahead and in a much bigger, like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism says, you have problems when you look at life small. When you look at life in a small way, then you're having problems. You've got to look at life in a large way, which is exactly what he does. And that's why the solutions produced from that space are lasting, effective, and of course, quick. It doesn't have to take so long, because some of these solutions were, the discussion's gone for 5 years before a decision has come to which solution is going to be implemented. Yeah. Right. So
the other thing that typically happens with international organizations, not just the UN, is they solve one problem and simultaneously create a new one.
Well, exactly. That's because of the blind spots, right? Because they're having blind spots in their leadership. Whereas the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is free of that. It's clear. The vision is clear. And it is all inclusive because it comes from the space of oneness. It is all inclusive. It isn't that I'm going to provide a solution. Whilst I provide the solution for women, I'm going to miss out a solution for men or children or youth. Right? It doesn't come at the cost of something else. One solution doesn't come at the cost of something else. Because it comes from the space of all inclusiveness, it is a complete solution. And it does, and it's non-violent. Therefore, it does not encroach on the will of another being. Right? So it's uplifting and empowering in that way. It's very simple. Yes. Thank you, Shri Banahasta, for sharing. Maz Latinka, would you like to share your own personal breakthrough?
What I want to share is that actually what we did these days was power manifestation, completion, clutching in every moment. and everything was auspicious. Even my GPS, who brought me the incredible places, but everything that happened, it was for us. Really, it was a gift, a possibility to complete with our own incompletions, and to find another way to have the information or to have the results easier and in really the best way. So just like my GPS goes crazy, and I put a parking on UN, and we went another place, and I saw it was a big office, and we needed just a confirmation and some yes, and we walked. We had two different addresses. We went back, and the agent of security, she was a chief actually. She come to us and said, "How can I help you?" And she gives us such amazing information, inside information, and yes, such a kind of little things that show us that everything is a gift for our proper breakthrough, and simultaneously to have results. And it's I like just to say that when I sign up for the I'm sorry to become a SGP manifestor, and I begin this journey. I knew that this space, it's an incredible space of possibility, and that the whole world will change. And when I was in Geneva, and I said, actually, we are learning so fast. Diplomatics, the diplomats are going to the university. They are learning a lot of things. They're speaking all the time without results, actually. A little bit, ego results. And we was there downloading the information. And we had a lot of fun, actually.
Yes.
And yes, it's really experience, for personal experience, but also with the group. It was collective integrity, because we wanted that things happened, that the Hindu voice, Hindu presence was there. Everybody in Geneva saw us like a powerful woman group.
Yes.
They was really impressed. The people stopped us and they wanted to speak with us.
Yes. Yes.
And at 6:00 Friday night, the diplomatic representative was opening the door, because they wanted to speak to us, because they saw us in in the conferences, and it was so powerful experience. So thank you.
Yes, especially Zlatinka, because you live in Switzerland, and usually you would not be dressed in a sari, example, wearing kumkum, and here you are wearing kumkum, and your usual attire would not be that. So there you were in your own home country, completely living the Hindu lifestyle, proud, and of course being complimented by the people that live there as well, locals. I was there, right? We even walking from one embassy to another. People, it wasn't just a compliment. People just stopped. They took time to say a few sentences, to share how wonderful we were looking, how we were carrying ourselves, the grace that was happening, as that was being radiated. They were they were actually complimenting. of course, I've been to many countries. I've not seen this kind of time taken out. It wasn't just you just turned somebody's head. It wasn't that. It was turn the head, stop, pause, watch, say something, want to engage in a conversation. And, that's like taking time out of their life to want to engage with us, because here we were proudly representing Kailasa, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and of course Hinduism itself. So thank you, Ms. Latinka. And Conchetta, for yourself, what was your personal breakthrough that happened for you?
Yes. So my personal breakthrough was this. And in the 48 hours after I landed, during the first day of the discussions, I would still be hesitant and I would let others lead. I was happy to do the side task in the background. So this was, though, disturbing my space, because it was an excuse to not take responsibility. It was a fear that I was carrying, and this, I noticed that had been with me for a while, even before Geneva, because I tried to go for my manager's job. So, but at that point, I decided that I shouldn't wait anymore, and I completed on the spot. It was really a powerful process, and after that, the same night I remember I made a sankalpa when I went to sleep, and I said I wanted to take the lead more, and I wanted to take more responsibility in Kailasa's missions. I would like to actively make contacts with the diplomats. So the very next day, it was another day of discussion, all day discussions in a different location. And it so happened that exactly as I declared in the Sankalpa, I was directly speaking to the first person we spoke to, actually, was the committee chair. And it was so organic and natural and friendly. And so after that, we also spoke to the vice chair, various committee members, scientists, in a natural way, organic way. It was so easy to enrich about the United States of Kailasa, about the work of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, what he has done over the years. And every single one of them was so excited and keen to have us there. And they wanted to listen. They wanted to hear what we had to say. They were very interested. So I felt that because of that completion, and because of the work that we were doing there for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, a huge space of possibility had opened up. I remember clearly, actually, after the completion, all of the colors were even brighter. I could see things even brighter.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's very space of possibility. Still, I feel that excitement right now. So even being there and listen to those discussions, so interesting, really ignited my interest in human rights, in reporting on global issues, and so I still feel so extremely inspired and want to keep this momentum going.
Yes, I agree with you. Actually, I was like, I'm inspired and I want to keep this momentum going. And nothing like being on the ground and having that cognitive shift, right? Just like, I can't afford to be in this space of powerlessness. No way. I'm going to step into my powerfulness right now, because there isn't time to, okay, I think I'll sit and I'll complete after 21 minutes, and then it's now, like dropping it now. It's an instant declaration of powerfulness, and that's only because of the initiations from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, that the awareness is even there for when when things are like, for me, fear came up many times. It's like, well, I can't afford to be fearful. I've got to drop it now, face the fear, heard it multiple times, face your fear and do it anyway, right? Just go ahead and do it anyway. There's no need to feel intimidated. Start with the first thing and move next, right? So again, for anybody that is watching and is excited to be part of this amazing mission and vision that is unfolding by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, in the love and care, it's actually, while all of this is going on, I really felt like I was playing in the lap of the cosmos. I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like, oh my God, I have to work this out. Or, it was always Swamiji on my Wi-Fi. And Zlatinka is witness to the number of times I said, Swamiji, help me. Swamiji, help me make this happen. The amount of bhasma we've blown to move things. If you want to be part of this very dynamic, alive lifestyle, please do sign up. Sign up immediately. Again, it's the same link for those of you who are watching on YouTube, those of you who are in the sessions, actually in the Paramashivam home sessions, those of you who are watching on Facebook, all of you, please do sign up ASAP. The link is being projected to you. If it's not, I can read it out to you at sksjp.org/contribute. So I am seeing that the team lead will be projecting that to you, and you can see actually the photographs in the background of, the moment I see these pictures, the space of powerfulness just comes flooding back in again. And to be there with all the other countries, you can see Swamiji's Atmamurti inside the actual hall where we sat and participated in the sessions. And where else, Swamiji's Atmamurti in the session which is talking about empowerment of women, where it's the perfect place. And there's another actually complete different happening that I want to share about. First of all, there were 17 of us that gathered from various parts of the world. There were people from the US of A, people from Switzerland, from UK, from France. There were people from different parts of the world that came together very quickly. As you said, as we shared earlier, within a few moments decisions were made. And the different steps that needed to be taken, put into place happened. We all gathered, 17 of us. It is actually one of the largest groups that was there. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism truly being, truly representing the 2 billion Hindus, being the voice, the strong voice for the 2 billion Hindus on planet Earth. Many times when I was introducing the United States of Kailasa and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, this is one thing that struck out, that the United States of Kailasa is the only Hindu nation at the moment in the world. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is representing and being a voice at the United Nations for the 2 billion Hindus. So I'm born a Hindu. I personally am born a Hindu, and I appreciate that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has spearheaded this effort towards bringing the persecution that the Hindus have suffered, and of course the persecution that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is ongoingly suffering and he's been subjected to. I appreciate it because as a Hindu, born a Hindu, I can tell you from personal experience that I had the diluted version of Hinduism. By the time I came to the United Kingdom, I used to wear Indian clothes, but I found that I got teased. I got called names. So I actually stopped wearing my kumkum. I used to wear kumkum, but I stopped wearing it just because I was being teased. So these are many things which are really real. And now I wear it proudly. I wear my Trinetra Tilak proudly, and it doesn't matter where I am, I wear it proudly. And I feel like if I don't wear it, I feel like something's missing. It's part of my identity as a Hindu. Wearing the sari, wearing the jewelry, feeling all of the aspects of my culture adorned by myself. I felt, going to the United Nations, I felt like, yes, this is my identity, this is who I am, and I'm proud about it. So I'll tell you the scene, what happened. Okay, so on the 22nd, so it was a half a day session, and there were 17 of us. We all went in different batches because we all arrived there in different vehicles. So each of us had different items. So we had the flag poles for the flags of the United States of Kailasa, and we had the booklets. We had what else did we have? Okay, so we had we had the Utsava Murtis, the deities, the metal deities, and then we had Swamiji's Atma Murti. Everything had to go through security. Okay, and we had multiple bags. We had Bhagavad Gita decoded in many bags. So, there were quite a lot of heavy bags. So they were opened, checked by security. At one point, security came and said, we don't normally allow these things. And I said, well, we've already written, we've written an email, and this is what's happened, etc., etc. And they just, yeah, okay, go in. No problem, just go in. So everything passed through security with so much ease. Okay, so here we were, completely in that space of oneness with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, living the lifestyle, representing the lifestyle without diluting any aspect of it, turning up with our identity, representing that space, and inside 17 of us, we were very memorable. People looked at us. People wanted to know more. People wanted to ask us, come and engage in conversations. And what happened also is that we spent 4 hours in the sessions. We didn't get to meet all the delegates and all the ambassadors and all the people representing their countries on the day, of course, because there was a limited amount of time. People were moving, some had left. So on Friday, so Wednesday, we were at the session there. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism representing, being the voice, the strong voice for all the 2 billion Hindus right there. And of course, we were representing Hinduism, in our attire, in the way we were dressed, in the way we were holding ourselves, the way we were carrying ourselves. And that was on Wednesday. And on Friday at 6 o'clock in the evening, when we went to the embassy of Venezuela, the lady that, the delegate that actually greeted us, she said, when we started speaking about Hindu empowerment and all of the strong points that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is already contributing towards world peace, when she said, you were there, weren't you, at the session on a Wednesday? She said, I really wanted to come and talk to you all, but I didn't get the chance. And she said, I was praying to God, and here you are. You've come to meet us. So very, very much, noticed, memorable, remembered, right? Now you can see, all of you that are watching on YouTube, that are on Facebook, please do post your comments, your questions that you have from this session that we are sharing about our experiences at the United Nations. If you have any questions, do share. Now we have the others here as well that will share their experiences. So Zlatinka, example for yourself. How was it seeing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism being the only voice? Because in all of those countries that were there, there was only one Hindu nation, which is the United States of Kailasa, and the head of that nation, which is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Sri Nityananda Paramashivam, representing those Hindus. What was your experience about that?
It was really interesting to see how the people was really interested and involved in the conversation with us, and they really wanted to know more. And I remember in Morocco, the diplomat said that she was really happy to receive us, and actually she was really going at home, and she left everything because she wanted to speak to us, because she wanted to know more, and about the mission of Swamiji, and she invited us to be part of to come to share more, to have appointment, and it was really important part, because the people has the ideas about the Hindu nation, and they really need more information and to know the solution that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is able to provide to the world. And they was really impressed of this incredible mission, and the way he is giving the solution for every single person in the world. And yes, it was really, I was impressed with these people, because I thought maybe there will be there will be maybe how can I say that, negative. I didn't, I haven't, I had a little
I
bit.
mean, we talked about
I
this,
was
right?
quite
Latinka,
stressed,
we were like,
actually.
they were actually the narrative, the negative narrative that is set about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We talked about this,
Exactly.
right? The negative narrative that is set about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And the people that we met, the dignitaries that we met, they saw, it is said that body language speaks a lot louder than anything else you say, because your body language can betray you. So the body language is non-violent, right? When we are representing Hinduism, when we're representing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Kailasa, the body language is non-violent. Therefore, it's congruent with what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is standing for, what Hinduism is standing for, right? So there it is. It becomes a welcoming space rather than a space which needs to be defended, right? They're not feeling threatened. Therefore, the doors open with wide smiles, welcoming and saying, please come in. We want to know more.
Yes.
We want to learn more, and we want to see how we can collaborate. Yeah.
And I think that we was radiating this space.
Yeah.
Really. And it was so important. And we were so happy to do it. And I think that these people of the embassy, they wanted to be part, to know more, to continue to engage with us. And yes, it was really I was really impressed, and they were so kind.
Yes.
Really.
And the Council of Morocco was actually closing her office. She was leaving for the day, and she decided to spend another 20 minutes with us. Right? It wasn't even, okay, I need to go home, I need to rush you. She went back, turned on the lights of her office, made the space, in her office for us to sit and to have a long discussion. Giving us the time to share about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, about the United States of Kailasa, the contributions, and the possibility of collaborating and working together. Right? So that was, it's actually being dressed, because I was dressed in the sari for all the events. And it felt good, it felt graceful, it felt empowering, and I felt unapologetic about being, right? I felt empowered to be in that space. Doesn't matter if I was in a country that doesn't have that as a lifestyle. So I don't need to blend in. Even if I'm sticking out, I'm standing out, I'm comfortable with that. That was the beauty of it. So thank you, Zlatinka, for sharing. So how about yourself, Conchetta? How was it for you?
Well, for me, actually, being a disciple of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism made me feel very empowered and very actually knowledgeable about even the themes that were discussed, because with regards to the topics touched by scientists and delegations, I know that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has spoken at length a long time before about these things like global warming, organic agriculture, rising sea levels, right to food, right to clean water, right to education, to a clean environment, all of this. Swamiji has spoken at length before and has given solutions. The real Hinduism has got the solutions to all of these problems. And I was thinking within me, oh, wow, if only they knew what we know. And this is why we need to continue work to make sure the solutions are available to everyone, especially the leaders. Same thing with the on the day of the discussions on women and this fight in against discrimination and equal representation in decision making. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived the real Vedic feminism, which would be the solution to this, because straight away would eliminate any aggression, any competition, and would Swamiji has paved the way for enlightened female leaders who are nurturing, who are automatically elevating for the whole humanity. And for all of these reasons, I'm really in awe and gratitude that I was given the opportunity to represent Kailasa and also to have a personal breakthrough. And obviously, we need to bring a breakthrough to the world through the mission.
Yeah, absolutely, Conchetta. I mean, if we look, see, this is what I mean by earlier on when I was sharing as well, that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, this is not a blueprint on paper. It is actually a building in action, meaning what I mean by that is 90% of the women in Kailasa are in leadership positions, empowered to make decisions already, right? So what the discussion was about at the United Nations, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is implementing those solutions already. Like, it's actually something that has been implemented already. The results have already happened. So now it's a case of, if you like, a case study has already been done. Now you just need to implement that system and roll it out across the globe, right? It's like, that's how I feel. And it's not just something that's theory, some theory that has been put together. It's systems that have worked, that have shown results, that have given example. The idea is that the women naturally have nurturing tendencies, and their decision making comes from that space of Tyaga. When it comes from the divine feminine space, it comes from that one quality of Tyaga. Example, in that 1 week that we were together with 16 other people, 17 in total, everyone comes from different backgrounds, and of course everybody will have opinions or a certain way of making decisions, etc. But it is important that the things that need to be dropped are dropped, right? So we don't need to hang on to impossibility. That needs to be dropped because this needs to happen. So this needs to be dropped, right? So having the right knowledge to drop what needs to be dropped in that moment, and to hold on to what needs to be held on to. Like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism holds on to the vision to give humanity breakthrough, right? So he says, I am too busy loving the people that love me to pay attention to the people that want to, drag the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism down. Right? There's no point paying. So this is like, drop the things that don't need to be held on to and move on, and hold on to the things that need to be held on to. And I feel that's one of the beautiful qualities that comes from Vedic feminism.
Another thing is with regards to the sustainable development. one of the scientists said, if we continue as business as usual, there won't be resources anymore, and all the rest of all the possible negative scenarios. But so we need not to continue business as usual, but to find a sustainable way of development that is fair to everyone. And we need to go back to some kind of synchrony and syntony with nature, which this Swamiji also has spoken at length about the solution coming from the Vedas and the Agamas that are already there.
Right. And this is the gap. I'm like, okay, so the solutions that the world is seeking, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has them already. Now it's a case of, getting their listening, speaking into their listening, and bringing. Like, I just remember last year as well, Swamiji said that, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism mentioned that actually inspired all of us to share about unclutching with all the leaders, decision makers, right? Because when the decision makers are unclutched, they will make better decisions that will be all inclusive, again, minus the blind spots. Rather than, simple thing like when you work from the space of completion, you create more completion. When you work from the space of incompletion, you create more incompletions, right? So just don't get into that cycle. Now, that's how the leaders would be empowered. Now, I'll let Anurag also share. Thank you, Conchetta. I will let Anurag share about, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism being the strong voice for the 2 billion Hindus, and us there as a collective in a large group, where usually you find that representation is maybe 1, maybe 2 people from each country, and there we were 17 of us there. Anurag, what was your experience about that?
I mean, the powerful cognitions, the cosmic principles, which Swamiji has revealed in the area of gender, in the area of jurisprudence, I mean, they have become part of our being. So when we went there, when we were walking across the hall, then I could see everybody looking at us. The grace, the radiating space, what we carried with us, it was kind of people thinking, wow. And that's why they got interested, and they were trying to strike a conversation, trying to understand where are we coming from, and really being interested on what we bring. Because these kind of conferences happen every day in UN, and there is a lot of speaking, a lot of recordings which are coming out. But this kind of state and space which we radiate simply makes them feel that, yes, we have a solution. We have these principles which can be applied. Most of the sessions, we see that the solutions being offered are more external. Like, okay, when we see that we want to get more representation of women in the decision-making systems, then what you hear mostly is, oh, we should have a quota system. We should give more affirmative action. So these are more external, outside solutions which need to happen. But what we see is really this oneness and these powerful cognitions, which really first work inside. And as Conchetta was mentioning, I mean, compared to Western way of feminism, which is more trying to become equal to men, trying to compete and become the same, it's not this way. Vedic feminism is really about the feminine aspect of the creation. And that's what is missing in today's world. It's too much masculine driven rather than really having the grounding of Vedic feminism. So to me, I mean, we have the solution, we see the gap. Now it's for us that we make ourselves the channel through which this will flow and make the change. We should not be sitting on the sideline watching. I mean, this change will happen irrespective whether we want it or not. So let us become the channel through which this change happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Swamiji says that women, by their very DNA, have the capacity and groundedness to hold an ecosystem or a family or a team or a community together. right? To have stability, you know, it's like a natural intelligence that keeps happening and keeps everything stable. And we would have noticed that when we were all staying together in one place, there were women holding everything together, you know, keeping things stable, while so many different things were changing, keeping everything stable. So yeah, so Hinduism creates an ecosystem for every woman to manifest that possibility, that power, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, and
yeah,
that should flower rather than competing and becoming like men, because that's
right.
what the modern feminism does. I mean, they try to force you in the same mold, whereas this unique feminism and have that quality that should flower in each and every one.
Correct. Absolutely, absolutely. Because then, well, you know what? That's another thing that struck me. These are some of the thoughts while I was observing. And then I was like, okay, so when we're competing with men, even our dress changes. You know, it's
Yes.
like women in corporate environments start dressing in suits, and you know, having the same look, and deciding to drop many of their natural tendencies and getting into this competitive environment where it's like, I need to dress like this or have this attitude in order to get the success, because if I don't do this X, Y, and Z, and then I'm not going to, you know, get to the success point that I want to get to, right? That's one of
And
the
that's
things I
what we
noticed.
saw, right? When we walked in this traditional outfit,
Yeah.
then we radiated that space of feminism, which was not there in any of the delegates there.
Yes, grace. That is Swamiji's grace, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's grace on us, that we are able to radiate grace. Yes. So Srinitya Bana Hastananda, especially for yourself, you come from United Kingdom, you're living an English lifestyle, and here you are representing Hinduism and being there part of the voice, or you know, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism being the voice for the 2 billion Hindus. How was it for you? How was the experience for you?
Well, yeah, one thing which I found very interesting, I won't embarrass the people concerned by saying who it was, but on the Friday we decided to go and visit some embassies. And in London, I live in South Kensington. I'm surrounded by embassies, right? And it's security and machine guns and all the rest of it. And we just walked into 3 embassies with no security checks and a suitcase, right? and you know, these are countries where they have terrorism, and we just walked in and said hello and started talking to people and handing out copies of the Bhagavad Gita. So that was really interesting, the way all the barriers kind of melted away when we just turned up with that, and we had no appointments. We just turned up.
Yeah, absolutely. And people were very keen to listen. I had the same, I noticed the same, and I think it's the same when I go back to what I shared with Zlatinka, that when we example, I have a habit of observing certain things, and I was thinking, why would a person close up? A person would close up or feel like they need to have some sort of a boundary is because they're feeling threatened, right? So the moment what is demonstrated clearly for us is that we are radiating non-violence because the barriers came down and people welcomed, right? Because they are allowing themselves to be vulnerable because they do not see a threat. So us being in our 100% Hindu identity that we are, representing that space, being there as a collective, automatically radiates the space of ahimsa, non-violence, the space of oneness, the space of all inclusiveness. Because our body language, actually, because they say, right, the majority of your body language is more important than what you say. Right? So if all the doors are opening automatically, then it's because the body language says non-violence. It doesn't matter if I've made a mistake or anything. I've walked into some, prestigious embassies with their beautiful buildings, and the security guard, the moment I said I'm the head of, I'm the head of Kailasa at United Kingdom, they just waved us in. It wasn't even, it wasn't even a big deal to check everything. Where are you from? Do you have an appointment? None of those things. Right?
Well, you were just behind me when we went into the United Nations on Wednesday, and the security guard said to me, what's that in the basket? Because it's a big, massive metal detector. And I said, what's that in the basket? I always said, these are our deities. Lots of metal. And he said, oh, formidable. And then just just carried on, right? He didn't investigate or anything.
Yes, even where there is a stringent security check, right? We were waved in with ease and grace, right? So that's the beauty of what we are radiating. So it is not what I'm impressing on is that it's not just on paper, it is in action. And every single cell of each of our bodies has, with the initiation of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, is radiating that space very, very easily, with ease and grace. Now, everyone that's watching on YouTube, that's watching on Facebook, I'm trusting that you're enjoying the discussion that we're having here, the sharing that we're having here. If you have any questions, please do let us know. What we would like to do is once more remind you to please sign up to be part of this amazing happening, a beautiful flowering that's happening for the world. I can see it in action. I've been here for 10-11 years. I can see it all unfolding. It may not have always made sense to me, because of course the vision that that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has, I have a fraction of that at many times. However, as time goes on with the patients, I can see how it's all unfolding beautifully. Please come and be part of that. Come and enjoy and be part of this dynamic happening where everyone comes together and lives this lifestyle, expands together. So the link is being projected to you to be an SJP, to be an ambassador. You can come and contribute your time, your treasure, and your talent. All three, one, all three, two, or all three. All three is absolutely welcome. And of course, you can decide also to sign up to be an ambassador. So the link is being projected to yourselves. Please kindly jump in. Remember, say yes. In this moment, say yes. It's not that any one of us knew how to be, what to do, etc. We learned, downloaded quickly. I'm sure there are people who have this as a career. I'm sure they trained for hours, practice their speech. So, example, the chairperson that was there for the women's session on the 22nd, she said she went through her speech multitude of times, yet on the day she found herself making, some errors. And of course, I said to her, I didn't notice. I personally didn't notice any errors. But, I thought she did very well. But the point was, she had practiced for a long, long time. And there I was, having read the report a few times, updated, knew exactly what we wanted to be doing there, and got on with it. So the powerfulness that comes from living this lifestyle, there isn't any time wasted in being fearful. So living enlightenment, for me, I can tell you, living enlightenment is very much a happening. It's not something that's, again, a theory, but it's really happening. So be part of it, join and say yes to life. Say yes to life and become empowered. Say yes to life and get into this dynamic way of living where people like myself, Zlatinka, Srinitya Bana Hastananda, Anurag, Conchetta, and many, many, many more have, of course, jumped in, said yes, enjoyed the lifestyle. It's, what it is? It's like the hesitation that comes, what comes to mind is the hesitation that comes before you get on a roller coaster. And you're in the queue. I've been many times in the queue going, why did I say yes to this? And then you get on the fear is there. Then you get onto the roller coaster, let the roller coaster ride. And the other side, you go back and go, let's do it again. How many of you have felt that with a roller coaster? You jump on, you go, yeah, let's do that again. because all the fears were faced, everything went perfectly fine. And being in the lap of the cosmos, being in the lap of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is just exhilarating. So please do sign up. So why, again, why do we need Kailasa? Really, I saw that the way Bhagwan, as this is something I noticed, this is what my observation was, that you have the individual microcosm, and then you have the macrocosm. So everything is working together. The way the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has set out all of the knowledge system that we have, the way the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving Hinduism, very, very organized. Actually, it's extremely organized. There is unclutching, there is completion, there's power manifestation, there's beingness of Paramashiva, all the initiations that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is bestowing on all of us. When each individual microcosm, so my ecosystem is run as prescribed by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, I become non-violent. And therefore, when each and every ecosystem, the micro ecosystem takes care of itself, then of course the collective becomes in sync towards one. That's exactly what happened with the 17 of us in one house. We were all working together. But because we were all taking care of our own individual ecosystems, the whole thing, even though not planned, all learning new things, all learning new skills, all doing new things in a new country, went so smooth. And the quality was not compromised, because each of us, so that's again the adinams that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism have established, the temples that have been established already, is a witness to the fact that what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is doing, what Kailasa is standing for, is an implementable system, easily implementable, and nobody needs to feel threatened, because it comes from the space of oneness and all inclusiveness. So that's why Kailasa, because it's easy, it's simple, it's implementable, it's complementary, it is non-violent, and it can happen. It can happen. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has demonstrated with each and every one of us how it can happen, right? Because I come from a background where I went through a lot of violence in my life, and I knew I couldn't continue with that violence, but I also had a lot of suppression. And it is only the grace of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism that I have shifted very easily from that suppressed space to a space where I can handle myself more from the space of non-violence, more from the space of oneness. It is just the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's grace. So each and every one of you, maybe in closing, Zlatinka, would you like to say something? Would you like to inspire the listeners to join in? What would you say to the listeners, actually people who are engaged right now, participating through YouTube, through Facebook?
My English is it's not so good, but because of my emotion, I'm so happy and excited to be here to share this experience in the space with everybody. And I remember when I was a child, my wish was to change the world, to make it better, and that is what I'm doing in this moment. And that it's that I'm doing by the grace of His Supreme Pontiff of the Hinduism every single second. And I hope that we can inspire the people who are here with us to do the same, and to change their life and the world, actually, the family, the relationships in the field of everybody wants to be happy, fulfilled, and to have a happily relationship with the boss or I don't know what. And the truth is that we can do it because we are Paramashiva, and we need just to do it now. So please be part of this amazing journey, and come with us, and you will see miracles are happening now every second of our life. So thank you for everything. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Swamiji.
You know, Zlatinka, sorry, Parasa, did you want to say something? Did I interrupt?
I just wanted to say, I agree. I mean, long before I met the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, I had this idea. I wanted to help change the world, and I looked at various ways of doing it, and it didn't really make any sense. And then when I met him 8.5 years ago, I realized, he is doing something remarkable. And the reason I signed up, well, I've completed SJP. The reason I signed up for that was I just want to be part of that mission, and this is the most effective way of changing the world. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, in closing, I would say that the Supreme, what is echoing in my ears at the moment, I can hear the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism saying, "I am a go-getter," and that is the truth. It really is. Like, us being at the United Nations was the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism going and getting. It's not just talk on paper, it is going and getting. And that's with everything. So if you want to mirror the neurons of that space of going and getting things done, making things happen, no matter how big the project may be, or no matter how impossible people may think or tell you it is, then be part of it. Be part of the only Hindu nation spearheaded by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Sri Nityananda Paramashivam, because, as he says, he's a dynamic diamond who knows to go and get, a go-getter. Okay, so if you want to mirror those neurons, then be part of this. Do sign up on the link that is being projected. Remember to say yes and jump in. You could say no and go back to sleep and rest. What will that be, right? What will that achieve? Nothing. Say yes and become part of the adventure. One more thing that comes to mind is, you can be a seed of possibility on the ground with the right nurturing. Let that seed rupture, and let's become the banyan tree. That's what I'd like to say. So I'd like to thank every single listener that has been here, everybody that has been participating. I want to thank all the other guests here as well as Latinka Shateva, Conchetta Galota, Anurag, and Shinitya Banahastananda for taking the time out and for coming and sharing your experiences. If there's anything else you'd like to share, please do let me know before we close. Anurag or Conchetta, is there anything you'd like to share?
I just wanted to say quickly, if you join, there's a double dividend. First, you lose all your suffering through your healing and becoming Paramashiva, becoming an enlightened leader. You raise the rest of humanity. So there's a double dividend.
Yeah. And also, be the change here. The change is bound to happen. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has given us the vision, and that vision will manifest in the world. Either you can wait and watch or be part of the change. I prefer the former. Thank you.
Being part of the change. Yes, love it. Absolutely. Then, again, you can fantasize about changes, fantasize about this is what I would say. I started by saying that I wrote a piece. I was fantasizing about peace. Here we are, being part of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's projects, being part of the revival of Hinduism and making it happen. So thank you so much for each and every one of you that has listened. We'd like to end with the Purna Mantra and get you ready for the much awaited darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Please do enjoy. For now, please let's sit straight with our head, neck and spine in a straight line. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavate Shri Nityananda Paramashiva Padukar Panamastu. Om Nityanandam. Thank you, Nityanandam.